Today, I speak with Avi Hasson, the CEO of Startup Nation Central, an Israeli organization that focuses on innovation as the key driver of economic growth, as well as regional cooperation across the MENA region in particular, but also globally. Avi, thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to start with the question that many people have, which is how the current conflict, the Hamas-Israel war, has impacted Israel's economy so far, but particularly the tech sector. And you are at the core of the tech sector in Israel, which has been deemed a success, not only in the region, but globally.
Thank you, Marisa, for having me and for the question. It's absolutely clear, of course, that the events of October 7th and the war following that day has carried its toll in many aspects with regards to Israel and the region. But you've asked correctly about the economic part of it and specifically the tech sector. Let me maybe just in the beginning explain how much the tech and innovation sector is crucial for the health of the Israeli economy. More than any other country in the world, the share of high-tech in Israel's economic activity really leads the world in many, many indicators. So roughly 18% of Israel's GDP is high-tech. That's double than the share in the US or 3 times more than the share in the EU. High-tech is about half, 50% of our export, about 30% of the income taxes paid in our country, and hence, I often call it the business plan of the country. So it makes sense for us if we want to analyze the health, sustainability, and robustness of the Israeli economy to look into what is taking place in the health tech sector. And indeed, as you said, Israel has managed to position itself as one of the world's leading innovation hubs. It's reflected not only by the over 7,000 startups that are working in Israel, but also there are about 450 multinational companies, including household names like Google, Apple, Intel, NVIDIA, General Motors, Walmart, and many others that have opened over the years research and development, innovation centers in Israel. And for many of them, the Israeli site has a strategic importance to their ongoing business. When the war started on October 7th, there were several practical implications that impacted the sector. The first one was that roughly 15% of the workforce, the employees working in the tech sector, have been enlisted to active reserve duty towards the Gaza and also somewhat the northern front. Now that number went down in recent weeks as there are less military activity taking place on the ground. But still, if we focus on the first month, we can say that that had practical implications on the ability to maintain operations. Think about a small startup, and of course those numbers are average on all the industry. If you're a 10-person employee and 3 of your key personnel have now been enlisted, that has impact on your ability to maintain operations. That has been the first implication. I must say, and now it's not just sentiment, it's data, that the Israeli companies have shown amazing resilience in the ability to both shift priorities in order to maintain business continuity. And all the issues that are around customer deliveries or customer support got first precedence to make sure that the Israeli high-tech sector delivers no matter what. Now, high-tech, unlike other sectors of the Israeli economy, hasn't seen a lower demand towards its products and services. Anyone operating in the tourist business in Israel obviously has seen almost a shutdown. There's almost no incoming tourism to Israel. But the Israeli high-tech serves the global markets. And the global consumers and enterprises are very much still interested in the technology, services, and innovation Israeli companies can offer. So as long as those companies can maintain business continuity and deliver, they can still have their business running. And what we've seen is exactly that. By showing best practices, contingency plans, a lot of resilience and determination, and sometimes shifting tasks between different sites, some of them outside of Israel or within Israel, we have truly seen the Israeli high-tech delivering and hence maintaining that ongoing business. The second impact that is worthwhile mentioning really is the need for funding. If you're a startup company, Marisa, Having 6 or 12 months of one-way is not a rare phenomenon. That's just another day in the office. That's how the life of a startup entrepreneur look like. So those startups that were just about to go and raise their next round of financing, or even were in the middle of that fundraising process, had to face a significant challenge in their ability to initiate or close those rounds of financing. To that purpose, many emergency funds, both from the private sector, but also government sector, has been initiated to make sure that the companies can weather the storm, bridge that time, and get to the other side, while still on their feet, and then, of course, go and raise capital in the foreign markets.
Thank you. This was a very good overview to better understand the tech sector and the impact of the war and just the larger conflict on the economy. I want to zoom into the work that you do at the helm of Startup Nation Central. You are leading an organization of more than 150 people. You've been working not only in Israel, but across the region. And it's very much the success of the tech sector that has lured many companies from, for example, some of the Abraham Accord signatory countries to come in and learn from your expertise. So tell us a little bit more about your organization's mission and vision for how the tech sector in particular can be leveraged for more regional cooperation, even during very trying times that we're going through right now in the region.
So Startup Nation Central is a free-acting NGO. We're a not-for-profit organization created over a decade ago with a mission, as you said, not just to strengthen the Israeli innovation ecosystem, but to connect it to the world and really match those global players, government, investors, multinational companies, which are seeking for solutions, which are looking to solve their own challenges in their own territory or for the purpose of their business, and connect them to what Israel can offer in terms of the solution providers. And over the years, we've done hundreds of such engagements, and really through a variety of platforms, digital and physical alike, we've created that impact that we've seen taking place both locally and globally. Now, I've been in this innovation ecosystem for almost 35 years, Marissa, and I'm a deep believer that innovation likes collaboration, that there's only way you can be successful, regardless of how strong, rich, or smart you are, is through collaboration. We like to say that innovation is best when shared. So it is with that spirit of collaboration that we've built our own platforms, understanding that we want to be tightly coupled with the global value chain, and in a growing fashion with the regional value chain. So roughly over 3 years ago, the Abraham Accords were signed. And for us at Startup Nation Central, it really created a unique opportunity that we believed of how can we leverage the asset of innovation, the knowledge, and the capabilities in order to create and strengthen ties with key players in the region. Many of the challenges that innovation leaders are out there to solve are not national challenges, they're regional challenges or global challenges. We could think about food security. We could think about the climate change and everything it entails. We could think about cybersecurity. We could think about health-related challenges. These are all needs which are shared by pretty much all the citizens of the world and the region. And these are all needs where innovation can and is playing a vital role in solving them. So we identified this opportunity, and just about when the agreement was signed, well, actually even before that, we started to create a variety of activities under a strategic pillar we called innovation diplomacy, with the idea, again, to leverage the capabilities of innovation as a bridge to strengthen relationship with the Abraham Accord countries, but also with other countries in the region. And over the past almost 3 years, we've managed to create hundreds of such engagements between partners in the region and ecosystems players in Israel, really to both mitigate the challenges, meet the opportunities. And it's not just about doing activities in that respective market. Think about a Moroccan researcher and an Israeli researcher together creating a solution that will impact the world. Think about an Israeli startups working with an Emirati partner, again, to create something that can serve the global markets. So over the past few years, we have really not just touched hundreds of players, but created a lot of those business opportunities out there. Now, maybe the last point I just want to make is that what we've seen, that you need to really combine two approaches if you want to maximize the power of innovation diplomacy. The first is going top down. In that respect, we try to align with the national agendas of all these countries. A lot of the countries in the region, we mentioned a few of them, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, also Saudi Arabia and others, have long-term plans, Vision 2030, 2040, 2050. They have national priorities and challenges. As I've said, in all of these, innovation is playing a vital role. So by understanding what are those agendas, what are those challenges, we've identified the best areas where we can work with those countries, governments, but also private sector, civil society, and academia, and based on their priorities and their needs, create long-term sustainable plans. But in addition to that long-term approach, we also understood that we need short-term engagements, many times driven by the business community. And it is through those bottom-up activities that we create interpersonal, deep relationships. And Marissa, from my experience, when you work with someone in innovation, a very tight partnership is being created, one that is really both long-term and very robust. So by combining that long-term top-down approach and that short-term practical, putting people together in the room, sort of activities, we've really seen a lot of activity taking place in the past few years, one that makes us optimistic that even given the challenges that we face right now, we're going to have a day after, and the same motivation that brought us to where we are today will be relevant in that day.
And as you mentioned, aligning all of your activities with the different visions of the various countries in the region, one of the key challenges that the region faces is creating jobs to a very youthful population. And the tech sector has been and continues to be, I think, a priority for many of these governments. And that brings me to some of the common challenges that the region faces. And you said it, Avi, it's very difficult to work in the current environment. Communities and the various societies in the region, Israeli society and Arab societies are sometimes are quite far apart given the current war. But there are still common challenges that the region faces that are not unique to each country. You named water security as one of them. If you can tell us a little bit more about some of the other key issues that are part of your organization's priorities that you think innovation in particular can be leveraged to bring people together for this long-term vision of regional collaboration.
So one of the things that really impacts not just the macroeconomics, but the lives of all the citizens in the region is the desire of all the countries in the region, well, it's actually all the countries in the world, to diversify their economies and to shift from oil-based or resource-based economies to building knowledge economies, those that can provide high productivity jobs, as you say, mostly to the young population. And all of the countries in the region are somewhat in that journey, showing sometimes initial success, but still having a significant way to go in order to achieve the goals. Now, Israel, as I've said in the beginning, is a prime example of a knowledge economy. And a lot of these countries would like to learn from Israel's journey, learn some of the best practices, both from an innovation policy perspective, if you're a government, but also how do you commercialize research if you're an university? How do you build entrepreneurship and innovation curriculum to schools? How do you create communities and so on? Marissa, everybody wants to be Silicon Valley. Obviously, that's the mecca of innovation. But very few countries can even imagine themselves becoming Silicon Valley. Obviously, it's such a unique place with such unique assets. However, when all of these countries look at Israel, they see a country that merely a few decades ago was not the startup nation. It was a very government-centric economy, not open to the world. It was not based on innovation. And they see the result today and they say, hey, we can also make the same journey. So a lot of what Startup Nation Central have been doing with those countries is what we call ecosystem building, is work with their respective partners and share with them the lessons learned, the best practices. Now, you cannot, of course, take a plant that grew in Israel and plant it in Bahrain and expect it to grow the same. But you can have your own version of an ecosystem, which will be more suitable to the assets, to the culture, to the competitive advantages of the country. And in that journey, we think that both Israel, but also Startup Nation Central can play a positive role. So that's a more horizontal challenge, if you'd like, that pushes a lot of the vertical applications forward. If we look into some of the more specific challenges, and again, they're all reflected in the national plan of these countries. We have mentioned water. This is an area, of course, where water is scarcity. And again, if you look at Israel, growing in my generation, we were taught that we have no water, that an open tap is something that we need to deal with, that we all need to save water. Israel today is an exporter of water. We export water actually to other countries in the region, Jordan being one example of those countries. How did we achieve that? Only by using technology and innovation, mostly desalination technology and water reuse. There's a lot of experience gained. When we helped forge an agreement between the Israel Utility Water Company, Mekorot, and Morocco Energy and Water Utility Company, ONI, it was mostly about knowledge, about how do you manage a countrywide water system? How can you provide water to distant rural areas? How can you apply some of these technologies? So water has been and remains a main issue. It's the provider of life, both to residential, agriculture, industrial. We all need water, and that's definitely an issue where we've seen a lot of interest. Equally important is food security in a very similar manner. Again, there's more population to feed, and we need to feed them in a more affordable, but also healthier way. And there are a lot of technologies and knowledge in Israel that could be relevant to these countries. And there are a lot of capabilities in those target countries that can help utilize those technologies and scale them up in the region and also globally. And to that, we could add several issues around health, always important, logistics, which is a big issue to a lot of these countries. Many of the countries in the region are logistics hub or aspire to be such. And again, there are technology related to that. And that has to be tied with decarbonization or climate change. You cannot grow your industrial base in an irresponsible manner today. There are, common goals and challenges. So really, I don't think we ever had a problem with finding common challenges. The challenges are out there before us. It's always our challenge is figuring out which issue has not just the higher priority, but the higher chances of actually making it all the way through. Startup Nation Central has done several marquee events in those key countries, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco. And every time we did such an event, even though that was not the main goal of the event, we've had numerous, sometimes dozens of MOU and business deals signed between Israeli and Moroccan, Bahraini entities on the other side. The reason we had such a high yield, if you like, Marisa, is because we did a lot of preparatory work, and we only brought those startups or larger companies which we knew are solving a real problem, a high priority problem, which has relevant capability on the other side, and where a partnership can be made. Our job is not just put the people together, but really sometimes help to bridge the culture gap, the business culture gap, mostly, because I must say, I visited many times those countries, it feels very comfortable there, I have to say. You know, as an Israeli, I don't want to insult any of our viewers, let's say from European countries, but it makes much more sense for an Israeli entrepreneur to interact with one from Morocco or Bahrain than, you know, some European countries. The cultures are more similar than one might think, and yet there are differences. And our job is to help bridge those gaps, avoid costly mistakes, you know, both in terms of time, money, and friction. And our advantage in being an unbiased, frictionless NGO, Startup Nation Central is a non-revenue organization. We don't have any commercial interest in any of these transactions, has made us the trusted advisor to both parties, a brainstorming partner into what can we do more. And we're seeing that resilience in these days right now, when a lot of the open activity has ceased or stopped from now because of October 7th events. Our channels of communications are still open. Our friends, and I'm using that word because truly they have become our friends and partners, you know, are still talking to us, are still thinking of how can we continue doing our activities. Private business is still taking place. A lot of digital engagements are replacing physical encounters. And as I've said, they're all assuring us that in the day after, the region will stay here and the challenges will not go away, and neither will be the opportunities. I truly believe that innovation can play a significant role in the future of the Middle East, both in terms of bringing different countries and peoples together, but also as being the basis to solving our national, regional challenges and creating an economic engine that can help the region grow.
Avi, thank you so much for your time and for giving us a better understanding of Startup Nation Central, your vision and your mission. You're absolutely right. Many of these challenges that the region faced, you know, before the war started, will probably be even, you know, more colossal and more monumental in scale. But the only way forward is, as you mentioned, is dialogue. And you have done so much work on relationship building beyond just bringing organizations together. So thank you once again, and we hope to continue this discussion in the future.
Thank you, Marisa, and the Wilson Center for the ongoing partnership. And I think we all have a common goal, a lot of work to be done, but we stay committed to making it happen.
Thank you.